So I walk in here. I'm like, man, I ain't seen Cuff in a few weeks.
We haven't, man. Good to see you, by the way.
You too, man. It's been, hey, we both been busy.
Yeah.
And I said, there's something you need to tell me? Your nails are painted. All of them.
Yeah.
And not just a clear gloss. Like, this is real live color.
We went with it all the way.
So can you explain, sir?
Yeah. So personal anecdote here, right? So when I was in high school, I actually used to paint my my toes, before football games and things like that. Just being weird, quirky. It didn't mean anything to me. It didn't even symbolize anything. But so I've experienced this before, and I even think I probably had done my pinkies or whatever. But when you're a girl dad, you know what I mean?
I am.
And your 4-year-old says to you, "Daddy, I want to paint my nails." You're like, "Okay, cool, let's do it." So, we paint little bits nails and have a fantastic time. And as I thought, we would be done. But she says, "Daddy, okay, it's your turn now."
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. You know what, little mama, let's do it. Boom, put the hand out there, let her get to work. And then she's like, "Well, I want to do your feet."
Oh, wow.
You're a brave soul, my child. So she does the feet. So I'm like you like to say, I'm 10 toes down.
Oh, wow.
I'm 20 digits in.
I don't know if that's what I mean when I say 10 toes down, but I'll let you make it on that one.
Yeah, but you know what? And I realize I don't have any fingernail polish remover. So I got 2 girls and a big house and no fingernail polish remover. So they'll be on there until we get to the store and get some fingernail polish remover and take them off. But it really got me thinking, especially as we start to conclude 2023. What's important to me, right? In those moments of just spending good quality time with her, no TV, no iPad or YouTube or anything like that, right? It's just daddy and daughter, and we're hanging out. We're just doing fun things, right? And I think the world moves at such a fast pace that we sometimes we forget our North Star, right? We work so hard and so diligent to provide for those that we love and that we care about, but then you forget that you need to spend the quality time with that person. Because I can promise you right now, my daughter doesn't care how much money I make, what type of house we live in, for the most part, right? All she wants is just time. And so, I'm happy to get my nails painted pink and turquoise and TVLP green.
Oh, that's what we're gonna call it. TVLP green.
It is. Yeah, and then she got super fancy with it, and so she came up with like mixed colors or whatever, and I was like, okay, we'll roll with it. But that is, to me, like, I remember being in that situation a couple of days ago or last week, and just being like, okay, be in this moment. Be in this moment, because that's everything to that 4-year-old, right? She was so intent, so focused, so jovial about just playing with her dad, and I think that that's what life is all about. And so as we get ready to turn the calendar into 2024, this episode is an episode of reflection, but I think it's also important to look at what's happening right here, right now, and you don't want to miss those moments. Right, so that's the story behind the nails, and I love it, man, and I'll rock them. It is what it is. We live. I think you were saying before we even started the show. We live in a weird culture society now, right? So this is probably just as evenly accepted as anything else, right? And this probably isn't even weird at this point.
Yeah, it's beginning to be par for the course.
Yeah. So, welcome back to the Vision Lab podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. We are super excited as we get ready to close out 2023. For some of you, this may have been the best year of your life. For others, it may have been, really a struggle, right? A grind. Wherever you fall within that spectrum, we're certainly glad to have you jump into the lab with us today. We're going to take a moment to just reflect and show a little bit of gratitude for the things we experience, whether that, like I said, is good or bad or anywhere in between. But super excited that you guys decided to join us today on this ride. You guys hopefully will be blessed by the information that we share. And let me introduce my partner, Mo.
Introduce?
Well, what up?
Oh, what up, man? Yeah, man, it's last episode of the year. 2023 has been one heck of a roller coaster ride.
It has been. That I can attest to.
There's a time for planting / sowing seed, and there's a time for harvest.
Mm-hmm. Seed time, harvest.
This has been all about planting seeds and being patient enough to allow them the time to where 2024 will be nothing but harvest.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
Both of us have a spiritual background, a faith-based background, probably more appropriate way to say it. Seed time harvest is a biblical principle, right? Well, and you're talking about planting seeds. What and you don't have to give specifics, but talk about the process of you planting seeds this year. What did that look like for you?
So I work in real estate development, and so it's an entire ecosystem. On one hand, I think I've done I'm not gonna say a great job. I think I've done a really solid job in creating a miniature version of my own ecosystem. But on the other hand, in order to completely have that ecosystem run itself and be automated, I've also had to do the work or plant the seed, if you will, to be amongst other like-minded people to learn the things that I didn't know. And a lot of times doing it with no parachute, no safety net. I work with people, obviously, I work with people I can trust, but a lot of times I find myself in a position of facilitating and connecting the dots between people who don't know each other, but I'm smart enough to roll out players like, oh, you need him, he needs you. Let's all hop on the phone together. And it's like, oh, wow, Ryan, thank you very much. This makes things so much easier for us.
But did you know that you were creating your own ecosystem, or kind of like an echo chamber inside of an ecosystem?
I don't know if I knew it at the moment, but it's something I set out to do because I've seen the entire wheel at work and thought to myself, okay, eventually I want to get to a position to where I am truly this can go all the way back to when we had BJ on the show. When we first started.
Man.
BJ does all this stuff with concrete and construction and supplies his own concrete, right? So I looked at it from a standpoint of all right, okay, Mo, you getting access to the supply of projects, you got that lock, stock, and barrel. Can't nobody touch you when it comes to that. So now, what are you missing? The funding part. All right, everyone needs money. All right, cool. Work on that. I'm pretty good with the lending community. But then it also became, all right, what you do and who knows what you don't know about development. You need to learn from those people. And I've spent a good 6 to 8 months learning from those people. And by no means am I an expert, right? Won't claim to be. But in the midst of all of that, the different people in the trades, and it's all the stuff that goes into all that, I think I've done a really good job of being able to as you would call it, put the tent poles down of my own actual ecosystem when it comes to it. And so it's going to be, I told somebody a few days ago, really, really, really quickly, it's going to get to a point to where there are people who, unfortunately, I'm going to be real hard to get a hold of. I'm going to answer the phone for certain people.
Am I on that list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate you.
But there are people in the real estate industry who circling back and it's, back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, you all on me. There's a little bit of that.
So can I start calling you Mike Jones?
No. There's a little bit of like, oh, I saw you with such and such. Oh, now all of a sudden you think I'm important, right? Shout out to Mr. Maurice Philogene. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You have no idea. So there's a little bit of that going on, and it's not, from my standpoint, it's not the, wave my finger in their face or whatever, but it's almost like, I tried to tell you. Like, I tell people all the time, one guy asked me, he said, how in the world are you plugged into all this stuff? And he's like, I've never met you, but I keep hearing your name. I was like, hey man, it's just hard work and understanding what role you need to play in a given situation. Like, it would probably do you some good to listen to me when I'm trying to tell you something.
So to give people perspective, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is their, happens to be their first time tuning in. And by the way, if you like the content that you heard this far and you're on YouTube, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe button, and be sure to forward it over to a friend. But for those that don't know, like when did you start to really navigate these waters in this space? How long have you been doing this?
Well, those who listen to the show know I lived a double life from a professional standpoint for a good 2.5, 3 years. But all together, like just solely focused on this, probably like 2.5.
So not a ton of time in the space.
Not full time. Now, if we add everything up, yeah, I'm knocking on door like 4 or 5 years. And the thing is too, the part of the role I play in, there's not a lot of me in that role, which makes it fun. That's a whole nother conversation. It's interesting in the sense of like, I've got my true goals, like what I'm really trying to accomplish in life. I got a gigantic poster board above the TV in my man cave. It's in all my notebooks, like it's, write the vision, make it plain, all that stuff or whatever. And so I know it's coming. I see fragments of light, and then like, oh, okay, this is a step towards that. Like I see it all coming. Like it's like it's happening. It's one of those things where, we ask God for something and then he sets us on the path. We have to be smart enough to realize that, like, no, what you asked for, he is granting it. You just got to be diligent enough to stay in it and realize that you're in the throes of making it happen. It's just not going to be a flick of a switch. Now, hey, every now and then it happens, but when you're really trying to grind and really like build something that is long lasting, it's just kind of the steps you got to go through.
I agree. And so when you've been able, I've already shared my like how proud I am of you for what you've been doing. We've had that conversation. It's on wax, and everything else. But, when you start to look back, especially, now that we're December of 2023, this year specifically, you've moved the needle. We've heard you say, repeatedly, you're trying to take your family into uncharted territory, unfamiliar terrain, right? We've heard that before. So, but I'm curious, now that you look back in a 365-day span, what's changed? What's different? How was 2023 to you? Give me some nuggets off of 23.
What's changed about me? Not
necessarily changed about you, but like what's changed since January 23. It's the Vision Lab, right? So we set out our vision, we write the vision, we make it plain, all that stuff, right?
What's changed?
What's changed from the moment that you started that vision and for 2023 to now?
Oh man, the strength of my network. That's pretty good. I take that back. The strength of my network is awesome. And not even in the sense of bragging, but just like the things that I set out to do, I now have frequent conversations with the people who are doing or have done what it is I'm setting out to do. So, you want to learn how to do something, talk to somebody who's actually done it, right? And now I can do that on a daily basis. I have completely, I was already kind of like this anyway, becoming a dad, but I have completely pared down what is and what is not important. in life and business.
So I want to pause right there.
Yep.
Because a lot of times I want to talk to the people. I want to talk to the visionaries. I want them to understand and apply this to their life, right? So you're a guy that has spent some time in corporate America, whatever, 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it's been, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the courage to jump out on your own in a space that you felt like you were needed, right? And you've created an opportunity for yourself. When you look back in 2023, because you've had some movement, you've had some progression, what advice would you give to a visionary on how to actually make that happen, right? Kind of year 2/3 into the game.
I would say write out when you first start, when you decide to really go for it, write out what you want your dream day to look like. Right? Like, okay, get up in the morning, work out from 6 to 7. Like whatever it is, however it is you think your dream day should look. Write that out. Then also write out, let me restart. Write out how your dream day should look from like a personal standpoint. I'm going to work out from 6 to 7. I'm going to get my kid to school from blah, 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 blah. I'm going to check in with my significant other, blah, blah, blah. Then write out, okay, what do I want my work day to look like? Who do I want to communicate and spend my time with from a professional standpoint? Because the biggest currency in the world and the most scarce currency in my mind is time. We can't make more of it.
That's the only attribute that's divisible.
Now here's the real thing. Here's the kicker to it. We're coming up on 2024. You might write out what you think this should look like on January 1, 2024.
Right.
It might change or evolve by the time February hits.
That's exactly where I'm going with it.
It might change or evolve. You might say, okay, arbitrary number. I want to make $20,000 a month in passive income. You might get exposed to something or someone, or you might meet somebody who's got a better mindset on things than you do, and be like, man, what's 20 grand? Like, I want to make 50 grand a month, or I want to be involved in something that's going to bring me $100,000 a month. You just never know. It's constant growth and evolution and evolving. I would also say you really got to get to the point to where the opinions of other people, for the most part, don't get me wrong, there are some people's opinions, especially in business, there are some people's opinions who I value. Like they say, hey, here's what I think, I'm going to shut up and listen. But when you encounter people, one, who are not familiar with what it is that you do, or not invested like you are, or don't, like Steve Harvey says, everyone can't see your vision anyway.
You're not supposed to.
Opinions only, people's opinions only go so far with me. Like there's a few people's opinions outside of let me tell you, right, honestly, bro, the only people's opinions I really, really care about on a daily basis are my wife and my daughters.
And mine.
Sure. Outside of that, I will take somebody's opinion under consideration.
Damn, dog, I don't even make the cut.
Hey, bro, but you know where I'm coming from. And so, I would say you got to get to the point to where David Goggins, somebody, you got to get out there on the edge a little bit, because ultimately, no one's giving anything away. No matter what field you're pursuing, no one's giving anything away. Hard work is rewarded, and then you got to be willing to go further than somebody else is willing to go too. Yeah. You got to be willing to make that extra phone call. You got to be willing to send an extra email. You got to be willing to talk to a person when no one else in the group wants to talk to that person. You got to be willing to talk to that person. Like you got to stretch yourself. We met with a guy 4 or 5 years ago now who said, "Hey, y'all gonna get stretched, pulled. You got to be willing to be stretched," and I'm still being stretched. You got to be willing. In order to do something that's never been done before, you got to do something that's never been done before, right? So you really have to look yourself in the mirror, and like once you make the decision to do that, then you got to go for it. Period. Every day, every time you catch a free moment, you got to put some type of positive energy, some type of forward motion into what it is you're trying to get accomplished.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
What was the most challenging thing that you were able to overcome this year? And you don't have to be specific, but just kind of give a
good question.
An overall synopsis of it.
having to tell people that just because interest rates are where they are and the economy is economy that, like, essentially I don't care. The price is the price. There are ways to figure it out to where, like, okay, maybe you have to put all this money down up front, but you're going to have to pay this one way or the other. Well, you know, if I tell you something is, you know, the asking price is $1 million, you're like, well, I'm gonna give you $250. Well, we have nothing to talk about. Click. Period. Like, that's it. Like, we have nothing to talk about. Like,
Okay.
Or like you tell, like I tell you, now I get people, hey Ryan, I want to talk to you. Here's my Calendly link. Like, man,
You know how I feel about
yeah,
that.
like,
You know how I feel about that.
yeah, especially if I don't even know who you are. Like, you're just some random person. You saw me next to somebody who you thought was important, blah, 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 whatever. I can't stand that. Like, hey, here's my Calendly link. Like, what? Like, no, because you sat there and took the time either on your phone or in front of your laptop or device or whatever to send me a request or just reach out to me. So I know you're sitting in front of it. Like, no, if you want to talk to me, hey, Ryan, look, I saw you doing this or I heard your name doing this. Here's my phone number. When can we talk? Did you just shoot me a Calendly link? Like, as you say all the time, nobody's the president of the United States.
Man,
you
come
ain't
on.
that busy.
Come on.
You ain't that
Come on.
busy. So
And
just telling people who probably feel like, you know, who am I to say, hey man, I don't have time for you. Telling people like, no, this is how it's gonna be if you want to work with me.
yeah. And it's not that, you know, you're disrespectful to
No, not at
people
all.
that have a structure to their day. But the reason why I don't like that, just to clarify, we lose this whole we get so caught up in systems and being systematic that you lose how to be a person. Right? That's my beef with it. And I'm so kinetically connected to people. Like that is a driver for me, right? Like when you start to position a posture or like you send me a link and that's the only way we connect. Nah, I'm not fucking with you like that.
This person shall remain nameless, but this person missed out on a chance to have us in their building for a live episode because he couldn't get it wrapped around his brain. Like, hey, look, man, I just want to come see the space.
Oh yeah.
I just
yeah,
I just want to come see the space, see if it fits what we need.
you know
And he kept responding with a Calendly link, and I told his liaison, I was like, look, I'm not asking him for a whole lot. I said, but if he can't pick up the phone and communicate versus just emailing me a Calendly link, I said, we got nothing to talk about. Tell him thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just tell him thanks, but no. Like,
Good
come
for
on,
you.
man. What are we talking about here?
5 years ago, you wouldn't have done that.
No. And I told his liaison on the phone that day, and I told her in person, like, next time I saw her, he ain't that busy. He's not.
No doubt. No.
Like, sir.
And it goes back to what I was telling
Yeah,
you.
like, sir, look, I'm asking you to stay at your building for 15 minutes extra. Just let me come through, check out the space. I'll be out of your hair. Okay, here's my Calendly link. Like, what? Hey, man, pick up the phone for 5 minutes,
good.
dude. Yeah,
We're good.
yeah, we're good. And he missed out.
We're okay.
Yeah, we're doing just fine.
Yes, sir. All right. So, what was the most challenging thing? Did I ask you that?
Yeah, I told you.
Okay,
Telling
so,
people
okay.
who think they're more important or have more skin in the game, they're like, no, this is not how it's going to go.
What was your biggest success in 2023? Yeah, because we're recapping, 2023. We're looking forward. We're excited about 2024, what it brings to the table, how we can be better, all that fun stuff. But what was your biggest success of 2023?
There are two. One, there is a massive development here in the works in DFW that I am directly working with the development group on that. Like I can literally talk to the folks in charge whenever I want to. And the fact that I'm even tied into that from coming from the lane I came out of is
Your
a-
regular Brock Purdy.
something like it. That's an accomplishment in itself. And then two, there is a group who is responsible for, I don't know, probably $500 million worth of projects, and I am really, really tied in with one of their direct reports, and he was cool enough to actually introduce me to them in person at an event back in September, and they were like, "Oh, this is a real person." Like they were put a name to a face, and now it's like, oh, okay. Like, so when my name comes up, they stop and listen. I would say those are probably the two biggest off the top of my head accomplishments, if you will.
Okay, and those are fantastic. As we turn the page or turn the calendar to 2024, what will be your biggest challenge to get to where you want to be, get to the person that you desire to be, get your family to where you desire them to be? Like, what will be your greatest challenge that you see in the next 12 months?
I don't know. Looking down the road, right? Everyone needs money. So, you can always say money, but whatever. I foresee a time where it's all going to hit at once, like all these different things I'm working on at once. So it's like, okay, I can't be in two places at one time. So how am I going to juggle working on fundraising for this? How am I going to juggle being boots on the ground for actual development for this? How am I going to juggle working with another company who wants to do this? So maybe just juggling a schedule and being stretched in multiple directions, which is fine by me. I enjoy it. I love it. I love it. That's, as we're having this conversation in real time, it's probably that. Because I'm in a space like the work I do, I like it. It don't even feel like work.
Is Zuri in kindergarten yet?
No, she got the late birthday, so she'll be next year.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's a new element that will be there too.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, but we don't have to cross that bridge just yet.
Well, you will in 2024.
Yeah, but that's August of 2024. So I got a minute. But if it goes the way I plan it, I'll still be able to. I will be able to pick her up from school. Take her to school, and I'll be able to pick her up from school too.
That's what I'm getting at, right? Is as a father, right? We're girl dads, but whether or not you believe in college and everything else, like, we do understand the fundamental value of the education system, right? And so being able to position our children, our daughters, into opportunities or positions where they can afford, different opportunities is important. At least for me, right? So when you start to think about, like, hey, here's some challenges. Like, what do I have to do to make sure that, I'm there for my daughter, right, through her academic growth and experiences, right? And that's kind of how I was alluding to. But we're not trying to go into a long diatribe over that. But so those are your challenges. Like, what do you think will be one of your – this is a Vision Lab. So what's going to be your success? What are you claiming right now going into 2024 that will be your greatest success or a great success?
So now, this is the part where I'm gonna have to
you got to speak it into existence.
Well, that I'm gonna have to revamp. I'm gonna have to revamp the goal board / notes in the book. What will be the greatest success? I will have
greatest is lightly termed, right? Like, it doesn't have to be the greatest, but like a big success for you in 2024.
I will have 2 to 3 developments going on all at one time.
All year?
Yeah.
Okay. So each development will take 12 plus months.
No. I mean, it could be one's going to take 8 to 10. The other, phase it out, so maybe 12 to 18 months. And the other one just kind of depends on which way how we use the land or whatever. But I'll have 2 to 3 developments going on all at the same time. That'll be a success. That will be the success, because you get one going, and that's done right. It's game over. But I've positioned myself to where I'm going to probably have 2 or 3 going on at the same time, and when that's happening, things get real. Things get really fun. Things get really, really fun.
For sure. All right, so a couple of things. If you guys haven't noticed, this is just Mo and myself. I think it's kind of been a long time coming. We have a ton of fantastic guests that are on the podcast, but we want to spend some time for you guys to get to know us. And in saying so, like, last question for you, Mo.
Sure.
How will you be better in December of 2024 than you are in December of 2023? And we know you've already made tremendous leaps and bounds, great strides over the last, whether you call it, 2 to 5 years, whatever you want to look at it as. But we know that you made these tremendous strides, great inroads, great relationships. You build out an ecosystem, all this stuff, right? How are you going to be better in December, 12 months from now, than you are today?
Good question, Cuff.
Yeah. We always say if somebody has to pause and think,
pause. Good question.
It's a great question.
I'm going to read more books in 2024. I'm about to finish my 4th or 5th one for 2023. I got I read something today. I got like 50 something pages left in it. Man, that's a good question. How will I be better? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe that's something I need to work on in the book before the calendar flips. I don't know.
It's a great question.
I will be better, but in what particular way? I haven't thought about it yet.
And folks, if you're still tuning in, visionaries, if you're still watching, the reason why I ask these questions is because if you're not thinking in that future state, how can we get there, right? So now Mo's been challenged to figure out what am I going to do to be better than I was in 2023. If he chooses to write it down, which I believe that knowing Mo, he will, that becomes a part of like the ether. That becomes real, right? And so it gives him the opportunity to be position himself to be greater at being better in 2024.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to write that down. I hadn't thought about that. Good question, man.
Perfect.
So can I flip it on you now?
Hey, I'm ready, bro. It's it's.
So you've had one heck of a year.
Yeah, I have. I have, and I'm an open book too.
Yeah,
so
you've had one hell of a year.
Yeah, I'm grateful for it too.
So I'll start off easy. What have you learned about yourself?
I kind of figured there would be a question to this extent, right? But. And this is some deep introspection. So if you're listening, check this out. I'm not who I thought I was, but I am exactly who I thought I was.
Explain.
So, I'm fast forwarding to like July-ish, right? 7 months in, and I do my 42-day fast.
Yep. I
learned that if I put a task in front of myself, I can accomplish it, which is a big deal because not everybody can accomplish what they set out to do. I'm able to do that. I'm very task oriented, results driven, and that was no minor task. I mean, we're talking 7 weeks of no food. You know what I mean? And I rocked it to the extent that I'm going to do it again in next month.
Are we going the whole no alcohol thing, or are we going back to no food for X amount of days?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah, I'm I every year for I want to say 5 or 6, 7 years as you get older, we have a lot of guests on the show. We have our libations, and I really feel like we're responsible with it, but you like you mentioned earlier, time, like we don't get to hit the rewind button on this thing. And so I made it a personal journey of myself to kind of forego alcohol, any type of alcohol, beer, wine, whatever, for 90 days at the beginning of the year. And I'll rock that out. That's not a problem, right? It is what it is. And I'll do that. But it's also kind of the mental lifting of the weights, if you will, to get stronger, to know that, hey, I can achieve certain things. So I would say this to you, Mo, like, had I not learned how to do that and say for 90 days I don't have any alcohol, I don't know if I'm able to accomplish the fast in July of this year, right? But because now I've done the alcohol thing, I've done the fast thing. Now I know I can push myself greater. So that's good, right? But what I also learned about myself, so my response was, I'm not who I thought I was, but I'm exactly who I thought I was, right? And so in that, I learned that I lack discipline long term, like constant discipline, or the ability to make this a quote unquote lifestyle, right? And that's my challenge, right? Longevity, sustainability, consistency, things like that. So I can set out a task, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, whatever it is, right? 6 months, and I can achieve that goal, but can I make it long term? So when I look at, like, sustainability and consistency, like, discipline seems to be a very, very important element. So I have my 5 pillars of success, right? And this is not in any particular order, but they're all relevant. They all hold equal weight. You got to have strong faith. You got to have discipline, right? You got to you got to persevere, right? You got to execute, because what good does it do to have a plan and work the plan and not fully execute it, right? And the final one is sacrifice, right? You got to be able to, you have to give up something to get something in return. So, like, those are my 5 pillars of success, and I know these things, right? And it's one thing to kind of to like mentally or cognitively know the things that it takes to be successful, but it's another thing to do those, and then it's another thing to do those things consistently. And so, that 42-day fast was amazing, but I knew I could do it. And so now in 2024, I look up and I say, okay, we're going to knock that first one out the ballpark, right? No problem there. But now let's be consistent. And I think once I show that level of consistency, like, it's watch out. Watch out.
All right.
Yeah, and 2023 was a hell of a year. And I'm not, let's not shy away from it, okay? I got divorced. Didn't see it coming. And I didn't want it to happen, but it is what it is. And I think a lot of folks, you're in those situations or in that boat right now. And so the holidays may kind of give you a certain type of feel, right? And a lot of this year has just been trying to figure out, who the fuck am I, right?
You got to reset.
Yeah, and I went into the year kind of saying, okay, it was a deconstruction, reconstruction year, and I thought it would be a 12-month situation. And what I can extrapolate from it, right, is that maybe deconstruction, reconstruction is true, but certainly it's like, when you start to learn yourself, you learn where you're weak at, right? Like, I was very, very weak in some discipline, some areas where I should be very much more disciplined, right? And that's okay. And I think, in terms of learning about yourself, being honest with yourself and saying, okay, not that it's okay that you lack in discipline in some specific areas, but it's okay that you've learned that, right? And you can kind of get beyond that. And so one of the key words that have always been important to me is truth. Like, I'm not a liar. I was at a younger age, a teenager and all that type of stuff. Like, I lied to get what I want, blah, 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 blah. But, like, as you get older, like, I really stand on truth and authenticity and realness and just being pure. And so in that, when I look at myself, you have to say to yourself, man, you're not walking the way that you should walk based off of who you believe that your credentials are. You know what I'm saying? And And that's okay. So like, let's just put that out there. Like, you're not where you thought you should be, or where you believe that you are, based off of like the type of person that you believe you to be. Cool. Now, what do we do from here? You know what I mean? And that's really where I'm at. Is it's been a lot of rebuilding, retooling, and that's kind of all a part of that deconstruction, reconstruction mentality that I came into 2023 with. But if I'm being honest, man, it's just like, I would have been more along the path of the journey that I thought I would have been on had I remained more disciplined. But maybe that's hurt. Maybe that's how you deal with loss. Maybe that's,
some lessons we got to learn.
Yeah, and
the hard way,
for sure. And that is what I mean by saying it's okay. It's okay.
All right. That being said, in the aftermath of all that, what are you most proud of yourself for in 2023?
I'm still here. And I don't mean that like from a physical perspective. I mean that from a cognitive perspective, from a mental perspective. Like, you could experience the things that I've experienced this year.
And some cats go in the tank.
And you throw in the towel. You give up, right? I just had this quick conversation with OG about success, but part of that conversation was, success. And I heard this today, right? So like, we all know the analogy of success looking like an iceberg, right? Like the tip of the iceberg, everybody knows that you're successful up here, but we don't know what happened here. But I heard this today, and I know it resonates with you because we shared it offline. Success is ugly. Success hurts. Success is being told no repeatedly, right? Success is 3 a.m. in the morning and you can't sleep and you're pen to pad grinding it out. Success is a grind, right? And so a lot of times people look at people that are successful and not necessarily a monetary statute tied to it. It's what you kind of classify or deem as successful. That's not it. The success is those wins, those losses, those moments of hurt, despair, anguish, all that. So I had all of that this year. You know what I mean? So when I look up and I look back on this year in terms of like what I've learned, yeah, you weren't the person that you thought you were, but you're exactly who you thought you were, and you're still here. And the ability for me not to throw in the towel or fold, right? Become XYZ type of a person. I still have hope. I still have vigor. I still believe in a lot of, positive things, right? And I can talk about it with my chin held high. And it is an embarrassing moment, right? It is a moment of, hey, you got this podcast, it's the Vision Lab, and you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like a cheating type of situation, by the way. But, your marriage failed. And so, yeah, you kind of feel that, and you learn to take your lumps. And mentally, I'm still here. I'm still locked in. And I'm especially in December of 2023, I'm more locked in now than I have been all year, even during that fast. And I thought I was super locked in then.
All right. As we look towards 2024, what do you foresee for Ryan Cuffey?
What do you mean? Like professionally, personally?
It's open-ended. You can answer both. It's my version of what are your successes going to be.
So, I got to read like this. Shout out to the boys at Definition Cigars. I love y'all sticks. Adam, I apologize if this is messing up the audio. All right, so vision is important. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Stewman. We had him on the show, but he didn't necessarily say this on the show, or maybe I may have inferred it on our show. But he gives an example. He's doing a speech in front of all these people, and he tells them to stand up, tells the crowd to stand up, close their eyes, and visualize themselves as the best version of themselves, right? Whatever you're wearing, the type of shoes that you have, the clothes that you're wearing, how you smell, how you look, your physique, your posture, all this stuff, right? And he tells them to take a step to the right and imagine looking at that person like, this is the best you that you came up with. This is you. And you look at that person, right? And you imagine if you're looking at the best version of yourself and you never become that, because you were too afraid to try or too afraid to get up in the morning or whatever the situation is, right? Like how you let yourself down. Now, why do I bring that into the picture, right? So when I look at 2024, like it is I don't want to say infancy stage of that, but it's kind of like the 1-year-old version of that. Like not necessarily a toddler, but that 9 to 13-month-old baby, you know what I mean? So there's things that I see and that I get, and you know, shout out to the Vision Lab podcast, because we've been so blessed and so fortunate to talk to so many people that are successful, that have gone through situations or whatever. But when I look at 2024, I see it's a continuation, of growing this seed. We talked about seed time harvest earlier, right? And the first 90 days will be a task-oriented situation with no alcohol, whatever. Easy money. Not even worried about that. But I'm throwing in the fast in there. You know what I mean? There's some personal things that I'm trying to give up, trying to get back into. My house right now, as nice as it is, like I'm just trying to establish it as mine. You know what I mean? Like when you have your footprint, like who you are, like your identity. And so a lot of it kind of revolves around like your identity. What do you want that identity to be? You know, every day we're getting closer to our expiration date. And I start to think about, at my funeral, what are people going to say? What do I want them to say? Because they're only going to say what's the word I'm looking for? Like what I gave them. You know what I mean? And so 2024 is kind of like that 9 to 13 month to 18 months little baby toddler growing into that toddler phase where I'm refining. It's refining. You know, I'm excited about it. The challenges that I've set in front of myself, because I've been working on this, right, for a minute, and I know that those will come. Or excuse me, I know that I will overcome those, and I know that I will do those things, and I'm not worried about that. But then, like that big word of consistency really just bells in my ear. You know what I mean? Bells in my head, like you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I just want to put a lot of good days together, and then you'll look up and you got a lot of good things that have happened.
We can dig it. So before we get ready to like wind things down, right? This being the holiday season, I want to say thank you and congratulations to some folks. So one, thank you to Adam. Shout out to you, sir, for rocking with us. Thank you, sir, as my partner in this. Thank you to all the visionaries. Thank you to everybody who has downloaded, pushed play on a YouTube episode, a Spotify episode, Apple Podcasts. If you supported the show in any type of way, if if you donated money for golf tournament sponsorships, if you have helped us push the ball forward in any form or fashion 2023, thank you. Thank you to Jeff Davis here at the Suit Gentleman Barber and Cigar Lounge here in Farmers Branch. Thank you to Edwina Brown at Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. Thank you to all the other lounges. Thank you to all the cigar manufacturers. Thank you to Ryan Rayford of Drew Estate, and congratulations, sir, on your promotion. I told him like about a year and a half ago. I was like, hey, bro, look, it's time. Like, you need to be moving up the food chain. Like, you're too good at what it is you're doing. Like, you take care of us. And like, I was in Houston in August, and I said, hey, I'm in Houston, where I need to go. And he gave me a shop. I can't remember the name of it. And he said, hey, just tell him I sent you. Sure enough, walked in like, hey, Rayford sent me. They're like, okay, what do you need? They open up the doors, right? He is a testament to you just stay down, keep working, do right by people, and good things happen to you. So shout out to you, Mr. Rayford, for your promotion there at Drew Estate. And thank you for taking care of us. Thank you to our kids for allowing us to do what we got to do at nighttime. Thank you to Adam's wife for letting him come home and smell like smoke from time to time. So, just thank you to everyone who has helped us get to this point, and congrats to everybody who's grown along with us and had personal wins. Hey, shout out to Brandon and Katrina Beasley, the first people to get married after meeting each other, the Vision Lab podcast.
Hey.
So, shout out to everybody, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and you talked earlier about kind of building out this ecosystem. We've been very fortunate to be ingratiated in like the DFW cigar community, to be accepted into the cigar community nationally and probably worldwide, and it's been so humbling. I think next year in 2024, you'll see a lot more authenticity and a lot more just Mo and myself on the show, as this is the Vision Lab podcast final season. So
we call it the last dance.
It's our last dance. We're tremendously humbled in the amount of appreciation and gratitude that we have for all of our fans, for all the people that continue to rock and support with us. We are our life is fuller because of you. Having people get in our DMs and talk about their personal goals, triumphs, challenges, the things that they've gone through. It's been very rewarding to know that we've impacted people, to have people come to our events, to raise money for different charities and organizations. Like those are big things, and we're tremendously humbled and grateful for those things. But this is the Vision Lab podcast as we kind of turn the bend into year 6.
Yeah.
This will be our final year. So thank you guys for rocking with us. We are, again, completely indebted to you, and hopefully you've enjoyed the content thus far. So with that, man, let's get ready to ring the new year in.
Yes, indeed.
And have a great time.
Be safe.
Yeah. So everybody be safe. Use your head,
call an Uber or a Lyft
sure.
or a ride share or something.
Yeah, it's not that serious, especially, as you're getting older year over year. It's fun. You've been there, done that, but so be a little bit more responsible. Make sure that you're coming home, okay? Because that's the most important thing, that you have an opportunity to see another day. So with that, man, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We just wanted to give somewhat of a moment of reflection. And other than that, we'll see you guys in 2024. Blessings.